Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Pradikacharya Astotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Pradikacharya Astotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktabinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 22nd day of March 2021 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 9 entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge, text 15 on page 396. Dr. Glenn, can you help him? All right, take this. There you go. There you go. Okay. Jnana chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekatvena patakvena bahuda vishvato mukham jnanayagena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekadvena patakvena bahuda vishvato mukham jnanayagena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekadvena patakvena bahuda vishvato mukham jnanayagena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekatvena patakvena bahuda vishvato mukham jnanayagena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekadvena patakvena bahuda vishvato mukham jnanayagena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekadvena patakvena bahuda vishvato mukham jnanayagena chapyanye yajanto mamupasate ekadvena patakvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Jnanayagena, by cultivation of knowledge. Cha, also. Api, certainly. Anye, others. Yajantaha, sacrificing. Mam, me. Upasate, worship. Ekatvena, in oneness. Patakvena, in duality. Bahuda, in diversity. Vishvatak mukham, and in the universal form. Others, who engage in sacrifice by cultivation of knowledge, worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. Purport. This verse is the summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also, in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. 1. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. 2. He who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that. And 3. He who accepts the universal form, the Vishvarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. Out of the three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monists, are most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body, but are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also a form of the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chukshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, just to review, Krishna has given a contrast here between those who deride him when he appears in human form. This is text back to text 11. Avajananti mamudha manashim tanamashatam. They don't understand, they do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. And therefore, what do? They maybe complete atheists, or they just are agnostic, but they don't worship Krishna. And their fate is that they're thus bewildered, attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruit of activities, their culture of knowledge are all defeated. This word moga appears again and again in this verse. By contrast, you have the Mahatmas, text 13, who take shelter of the internal energy. Those who deride Krishna take shelter of the bewildering energy, the external energy of the Lord. But Mahamanastamapa Daivim Prakatamashita, they're being surrendered unto the internal energy of the Lord. And what is the result? They worship Krishna with one pointed attention, Bhajantanana Manaso, and they understand that he is the origin of everything that exists. And what further do? They're always chanting his glories. Satatam Kirti Antomam. And endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me with devotion, they're always linked to me in worship. Nityayukta Upasate. So, now he's come to another class, or three other classes, who Mamupasate, who also worship him to some degree. They're not deriding Krishna, they're out and out atheists, demonic views. But they're not quite on the mark. And so he gives the different divisions here. One who worships himself as one with the Supreme. There's a phrase Prabhupada taught us years ago, ahangro upasana. Ahangro upasana means worship of oneself. And this is the confusion that Brahman is one substance, and we're part of Brahman, aham brahmasmi. Therefore, we're equal to Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. The idea that we're infinitesimal particles of Brahman, and the Supreme Brahman is infinite, and the particle cannot be one equal to the whole, they somehow convince themselves that doesn't pertain. So they start worshipping themselves as pure spirit. They concoct some form of the Supreme Lord. That's very prominent. It happens every day with the internet. They're concocting new kinds of gods and whatever. And then there's the universal form worshippers. This kind of pantheism, where God is spread everywhere, and you look at nature for God and the different aspects of nature. But the idea of a person with a form, pastimes, dancing and playing, and what we all know of Krishna, that's mythology to them. They see God in nature, Now, you'll find that in the Srimad Bhagavatam especially, that there is quite a bit of description of the universal form in several places. But it's directly said there, right in the Sanskrit, in the translation, it's imaginary. It's a device or a conception that helps us to move toward the personal conception of the Lord. But Prabhupada would always say, if Krishna appears in his universal form, how can you feed him? How can you dress him? You'll be like Arjuna, awestruck and even afraid, as you see his great power. He's destroying everything. Kalos milokachaya kritpa vidho. I am time, I am. I've come to destroy the whole world. How are you going to develop your, nascent love for God in that way? It's all fear and trembling, you see. So that's also an ignorant form of worship. There is a verse in the first canto. It describes idam ivishvam bhagavan ivetaro. This is a teaching of Narada Muni to Vyasadeva in the 5th chapter, I believe. So idam ivishvam bhagavan. That's not too difficult Sanskrit. This universe, idam ivishvam, is Bhagavan. That's just what he said. Prabhupada said, is a secondary form of worship. But Ivetara, it appears to be different. And what that's describing is that this whole universe is God in the sense of his expanded energies. It's not different from God. And as devotees, we're meant to progressively see Krishna everywhere through his energies. He's there through the super soul in every atom. He's there, Maya Jakshena Prakriti, as the superintendent of this whole material world, and he's there in our hearts. So in one sense, we're meant to see everything in relation to Krishna, which we can get that vision if we try to dovetail everything in Krishna's service, everything that we have at our disposal, and that we can bring from outside. Just like, this temple is made of bricks and stones and everything, and we're always bringing other things in, right? So that's what it means to see spirit. This world belongs to Krishna. It's like the sunshine. It's the Krishna shine. Prabhupada used that term. The whole universe is really Krishna shine. And just as when we see the sunshine in the sky, or you can see the windows lightning, you say, okay, the sun's coming up. The sun has risen now. Of course, now in the morning we won't see it so much. We've got the evening light. It's daylight savings time. But at least we won't see that in the morning. But from the shine, you recognize the origin of the shine. So this is all Krishna shine. So the vision of the pure devotee is that everything reminds him of Krishna. Can you imagine how blissful that would be? Within and without. Premanjana churita bhakti velochanena santak sadaiva hridayeshu velokiyanti. Those whose eyes have been anointed with the salve of prema, pure love for God, they see that beautiful Shyamasundar form within their hearts. You see? And they also see everyone in everyone else's hearts. So that's the way we can see Krishna everywhere. Retaining that understanding of that beautiful Shyamasundar form as the origin of everything. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adi Govinda Savakarana Karanam. That's the first verse of the Brahma Samhita. And then it goes on later to explain that the supreme controller, the supreme God, is Krishna, Parama Krishna. We're also Ishwaras. We have our little area of influence, maybe a little square out there on some sidewalk somewhere, or it may be a big mansion, it may be a country, but whatever it is, it's just a little piece of Krishna's vast creation. But we may control for some time, imperfectly, right? We have control. But Krishna is the supreme controller. Above us, there's the demigods, and there's all kinds of. But on top of everybody is Krishna. Satchidananda Vigraha. He has a form. He's not formless. He has a form, and it's composed of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, unlike ours, which is composed of mucus, bile, and air. So, and then Anadi, he has no beginning. He alone has no beginning. Ahameva sameva agre. Here he comes. Hare Krishna. Maybe it wasn't him. Anadir, Adir. He has no beginning, he's the beginning of all. Try to head him off at the pass. Anadir, Adir, Govinda. Sarvakarana Karanam. He's the cause of all causes. The cause of all causes. Everything that exists is an effect. Right? We ourselves, our bodies are an effect of our parents and are maintaining it each day, eating and excreting and doing the whole thing. So you can count all of those things together. There he is. Hare Krishna. Hare. So the effects, and he's the cause of all the effects, and the original cause of all. So these conceptions of the Supreme are all defective, and there are people who, subscribe to them, but they're worshiping Krishna indirectly. And he's going to explain now, in several verses, how he is personally the Supreme, and these are defective. All right, text 16. Aham katuraham yagya swadaham aham aushadham Mantroham aham evajyam. Aham agni aham hutam. But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant. I am the butter and the fire and the offering. Purport. The Vedic sacrifice known as Jyotishtoma is also Krishna, and he is also the Mahayagya mentioned in the Smriti. The oblations offered to the Pitraloka, or the sacrifice performed to please the Pitraloka, considered as a kind of drug in the form of clarified butter, is also Krishna. The mantras chanted in this connection are also Krishna, and many other commodities made with milk products for offering in the sacrifices are also Krishna. The fire is also Krishna because fire is one of the 5 material elements and is therefore claimed as the separated energy of Krishna. In other words, the Vedic sacrifices recommended in the Karma Kanda division of the Vedas are in total also Krishna. Or in other words, those who are engaged in rendering devotional service unto Krishna are to be understood to have performed all the sacrifices recommended in the Vedas. So one thing to remember is the verse from the 7th chapter, because it mentioned Jnana. The first mention here in text 15 was Jnana Yagena, the sacrifice of knowledge, right? But what did Krishna say in the 7th chapter? He says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavam Mam Papadyate. That after many, many lifetimes of cultivating knowledge, those who truly have knowledge, what do? Surrender unto me. Understanding that Vasudeva, I am everything. So this, Krishna is describing the same thing. You're going to perform all these sacrifices and these different ways of worship, but you should know that I'm the butter, I'm the sacrifice, I'm the mantras. Everything is me. So what are you trying to understand outside of me? In other words, it's just a more refined kind of diversion. We're very familiar, being, living in the West and living in Kali Yuga, millions and millions of different kinds of diversions. Not just in different ways of worshiping God, but ways of completely forgetting Him. Right? This is what Maya does. She provides as many diversionary aspects as you want, so that you can forget Krishna. That's what Maya does. But when you get, it doesn't relieve your suffering. All of your attempts to enjoy and to relieve suffering in this world are frustrated. Okay. All right, we'll talk about it later. So, those who are truly in knowledge, they worship Krishna directly. Otherwise, you're in one of these categories of worshiping Krishna indirectly. He's already spoken about in this chapter previously. Those who worship me indirectly, they drink the soma juice, aspiring to go to the heavenly planets. You remember? That's a kind of worship of Krishna indirectly. You see? But what does it get you? If you do it successfully, you may get to heaven, but then you may enjoy for some time, and then you come down here again, and you're in the world of death. Martyaloka, Krishna says. So what have you done? You just postpone the surrender. You haven't gone anywhere. There and back, going and coming. So we've been going and coming and getting deviated in so many ways from the pure devotion, and Krishna's trying to protect us by warning us about different varieties of them. So now he's going to describe a few of his glories, how he's all of the things that we may get deviated from, he is all of those things. Text 17. Pitamasya jagato Pitamasya Mata data pitamaha Vedyam pavitram omkara Riksama yajarevacha. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajurvedas. There's a little editing fix at the end of this purport. The entire cosmic manifestations, moving and non-moving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energy. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually they are parts and parcels of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appear to be our father, mother, etc. are nothing but Krishna. In this verse, the word Data means creator. Not only are our father and mother parts and parcels of Krishna, but the creator, grandmother, and grandfather, etc. are also Krishna. Actually, any living entity being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas, therefore, aim only toward Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Vedas is but a progressive step toward understanding Krishna. That subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called Pranava, is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because in all the hymns of the four Vedas, Sama, Yaja, Rig, and Atharva, the Pranava or Omkar is very prominent, these Vedas are also understood to be Krishna. Did you catch that at the very end? It's a little mistake there. So, this is this Bhagavad is just expanding on the verse, that wherever you look, whatever you see, Krishna's energy is manifesting there. And so, when we try to take Krishna out of the picture, that's called Maya. Even if it's, studying the Vedas for some other purpose, or, there's so many different, it's a, I don't want to say a slippery slope, or the other one is a razor's edge. Razor's edge. How we can deviate from Krishna. And so Krishna's trying to help us. So, okay, the Pitas, the universe, the mother, the father, everything you may revere and develop a relationship with, you should see Krishna manifest in that. And those relationships become successful when they're mediated by Krishna consciousnness, just like a marriage. If Krishna's in the center, and you're raising Krishna conscious children, and your home is a temple, in that it's, you have a little altar and everything, you offer everything, then it can be, helping in your Krishna consciousness. It's more difficult. It's more difficult because the attraction, family life and the comfort and the trying to be separate from that's stronger, and but still it's possible to do it. And so many of our great acharyas, they're householders. They're householders. It's possible to do. So it's not easy because we're in Maya's kingdom, and our whole business is to distract us, attract us this way, scare us that way. It's both sides, dukkha, sukha, sukha, dukkha. We want to become free from the delusion of dualities. This is at the end of the 7th chapter. What is those dualities? Itcha, dvesha, samutena, dvandva mohena bharata. Sarvabhutani sammohang sargayanti parantapa. We've come into this world because of our aversion to serving Krishna and our desire, itcha, dvesha, the aversion to serving Krishna, and our itcha, our desire to enjoy separately from Him. Itcha, and what gives rise to the delusion of dualities in this world. Oh, this is good, this is enjoyable, let me strive here, let me do this. This looks like fun, let me go that way. You spend lifetimes in that way. Or in the lower animals. Your consciousness is much more covered, but still it's that basic principle. Oh, there's food, oh, look, there's the mate. Danger, fight or flight, and after a day of exhausting doing that, sleeping, back again the next day. Eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing. And then gradually you come up to the human form, and you have the precious brain, intelligence, by which you can contemplate these higher subject matters. But 99% of the time, especially in this age, it's all wasted on just trying to manipulate the material energy, and being totally bewildered. So Bhagavad Gita is spoken to unbewilder us, especially hearing it from the pure devotee. He's explaining everything. Okay, now the next verse is one of my favorites, because everything here is something we can relate to. Gatir Bhata Prabhu Sakshi Nivasak Sharanang Surit Prabhavak Palayak Stanam Nidanam Bijam Abhyayam. Have you been watching for that word Abhyayam? It often comes at the end of a verse, isn't it? 5 or 6 of them. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. Purport. Gati means the destination where we want to go. But the ultimate goal is Krishna, although people do not know it. One who does not know Krishna is misled, and his so-called progressive march is either partial or hallucinatory. There are many who make as their destination different demigods, and by rigid performance of the strict respective methods, they reach different planets, known as, if they are not strict enough, they don't reach, as most of them. They reach different planets known as Chandraloka, Suryaloka, Indraloka, Mahaloka, etc. But all such lokas or planets, being creations of Krishna, are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. Such planets, being manifestations of Krishna's energy, are also Krishna. But actually they serve only as a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. One should directly approach Krishna, for that will save time and energy. For example, if there is a possibility of going to the top of a building by the help of an elevator, why should one go by the staircase, step by step? Everything is resting in on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler because everything belongs to him, and everything exists on his energy. Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, is the supreme witness. The residences, countries, or planets on which we live are also Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate goal of shelter, and therefore one should take shelter of Krishna either for protection or for annihilation of his distress. And whenever we have to take protection, we should know that our protection must be a living force. Krishna is the supreme living entity, and since Krishna is the source of our generation, or the Supreme Father, no one can be a better friend than Krishna, nor can anyone be a better well-wisher. Krishna is the original source of creation and the ultimate rest after annihilation. Krishna is therefore the eternal cause of all causes. So among all of this list here, the one that is perhaps most urgent for us personally is Surit. Prabhupada defines Surit. Now this word comes up again. Some of you may be familiar with this verse at the end of the 5th chapter. Bhoktadam Yagyatapasam. Sound familiar? This is Prabhupada's famous peace formula. Bhoktadam Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam Gatpa Mam Shantim Richati. How to attain peace, personally and collectively. One has to understand these things. Bhoktadam Yagyatapasam, that Krishna is the actual enjoyer, should be the actual enjoyer of our intentionally thinking of him such, of all sacrifices and all austerities. In other words, all the effort that we put in, we should understand somehow this fruit of this should be given to Krishna. We're working for Krishna's pleasure. So that's the first thing. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. I am the great controller of all planets and all beings on those planets. Now, that's a little scary without the third line. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. I am the best well-wishing friend in the hearts of everyone, of every living entity. Surit, Prabhupada, he described, they're just like in English, there are different levels of friends, right? There's a good friend, my best friend, my bosom buddy, and then there's an acquaintance, and like that. That's less intimate. So in Sanskrit, you have Sakha and Mitra, but the best is a Surit, which is very rare. Practically, Krishna only can be the Surit, because it means ever well-wisher. Prabhupada would sign his letters, ever well-wisher. You have a friend, but in every single circumstance, he's ready to do, there's a certain limit usually that friendships come to. But Krishna, there's no limit. He's always with us in the heart, and he's always wishing us well. Unfortunately, we're ignoring him, his instructions, and so he becomes the overseer and the permitter, sanctioner. Basically it's like Prabhupada describes it like a child. We're like little children, ignorant. He sees something fascinating, a fire, and his father says, "No, don't touch, don't touch." The father, no. So he says, "Okay, go ahead." So he says, "Oh, ow," and never again, right? And you learn. So we're like that. Krishna doesn't want us to be suffering in this material world, but we insisted, and so here we are, millions and millions of years later. And he's trying to give us good instruction. Don't go there. Don't touch it. Come back home to me. You can live with me. Just recognize me as the supreme and serve me, and you'll enjoy like anything. So he's the Surit. He's giving us we can relate to this like anything. Just think of many of you were aware, I assume, a few years ago. What was the guy's name? He's hiding out in Russia now for years. And he revealed, he worked for the NSA, that the NSA is recording everything. They're watching everyone. They weren't supposed to do that. It was on the Constitution. So he had to flee. He's now hiding there. So why was that so disturbing? Why do we blanch? Why is there in the Constitution it says, no, you can't, you have to have, there has to be probable cause. You just can't open, break into everyone's door and find out what they're reading in their letters and everything, supposedly. Because we don't really think that the government may have our best interests at heart, right? We think they're not doing it for our benefit, right? So we don't trust the ones who want to be all-knowing, They don't care like that. They're still going to, accumulate everything. But Krishna, he knows everything already. He's omniscient. But fortunately for us, he's also Surit. He's so powerful, he doesn't have anything to gain from us. He just wants to help us. He's out of love, he's trying to guide us so they will come back to him. So therefore, this idea of Surit, then the rest of it, is just all encouraging. Gati. Now, Gati is a very important word. Prabhupada says the goal. And he explains that the first, Gati means the destination where we want to go. But it also, in Sanskrit, means the means to the goal. And in both the songs we sing to the spiritual master in the morning, those who are there for the Mangalarti, that word appears. Yasya prasarat bhagavat prasaro yasya prasara nagati kutopi. Right? I think we've got everybody down singing that long A. It makes all the difference. So by his grace, by the grace of the spiritual master, prasara, the mercy, the compassion, yasya prasarat bhagavat prasaro, one gets the grace of Krishna. But without his grace, we have no means, gati, of advancement. So gati means the goal, and it means the means to get to the goal. So we're helpless. The goal is there. We all have the goal. Every living entity has the goal. Ever-increasing, unlimited happiness, and not even a pinch of misery. That's the goal. But for most people, that's just pie in the sky. If we can just, make our way through the world and have a little fun, we're so-called successful. But that's a complete defeat. Our real goal is liberation from birth, old age, disease, and death, going back to Godhead, reinstating, reviving our eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Now, in our present state, that sounds like a pipe dream. But we're constantly encouraged, no, it's real, it's real, it's real. And, the authors, these great acharyas, all speak from a platform of experience. They're not just speaking from reading the books, reading the Shastra. They've all done that, and they've realized the Shastra. But they're saying, no, it's real, I'm experiencing it. I heard Prabhupada talk a lecture like that. He was just giving the example of how he's working so hard, in his old age, so-called, But he's so blissful, he doesn't want to sleep, Now, as an evidence of how Krishna consciousness gives you, constant, it's not dependent on all of these, these factors that we have to enjoy material sense gratification. It's coming from the heart. All the difficulties Prabhupada went through, they're actual, impetuses for ecstasy, because there are ways in which you're showing your undying and unflagging love for Krishna by making a sacrifice. You see how those austerities can all become the most blissful thing. You remember Vijay? He said, I wanted to do book distribution because it was hard. He got that from the very beginning, and he's been doing it since he came to the movement in 1978. How long is that? It's like 43 years. And he's still doing it. And still, you can see he's so blissful. And even our Bhakta Glenn is increasing in bliss. His glow is increasing. I can see that. All of those who are doing Sankirtan, I'm not going to sing it, but that's how it works. So, Gatir Bharta, I am the sustainer, the master, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the shelter, refuge, and the most intimate friend. So this is very encouraging. Why would you search elsewhere? No, I want to worship the universal form. Why? You have all of this personally. So creation, destruction, nidhanam, the resting place, and the eternal perishable seed. So Krishna, by these verses, he's saying, just be intelligent. What's the point of worshiping anyone else or anything else when Krishna has all these attributes? And even if you worship someone else, as he made clear in the 7th chapter, whatever you get from Indra, Surya, or any of the other gods, it's coming from me. I'm letting them give you that. I'm providing that, so it's crazy. If you have any comments or questions, just interrupt me. Actually, okay, just text 19. Tapamaham varsham nirikhyam utsujami cha amritam chaiva mityuscha sadasatcha humarjuna. O Arjun, I give heat, and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality, and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matter are in me. Purport. Krishna, by his different energies, diffuses heat and light through the agency of electricity and the sun. During the summer season, it is Krishna who checks rain from falling from the sky. And then during the rainy season, he gives unceasing torrents of rain. The energy which sustains us by prolonging the duration of our life is Krishna. And Krishna meets us at the end as death. By analyzing all these different energies of Krishna, one can ascertain that for Krishna there is no distinction between matter and spirit, or in other words, he is both matter and spirit. In the advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, one therefore makes no such distinctions. He sees only Krishna in everything. Since Krishna is both matter and spirit, the gigantic universal form comprising all material manifestations is also Krishna, and his pastimes in Vrindavan as two-handed Shyamasundar playing on a flute are those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you can see if you study these verses and you have faith in them, it helps you to see Krishna everywhere. And we can also see how when this modern world with all of its disruptions that's taking place, this is for devotees, well, it's obvious. People are so sinful. It's directly there in the Shastra. They're violating the laws of nature, violating the laws of God. It may approximately be, you can trace it back. Oh my God, we're putting too many fossil fuels into the air. Well, that's because the whole artificial civilization built on these massive machines and driving 100 miles a day to go to work and all these different things. Prabhupada gives one lecture where he says, because he has so much experience, he says, I heard of people who are flying from Montreal to Toronto every day to go to work. And he even mentioned my old haunt where I was also commuting, from coming from Long Island into New York City on the train every day, back and forth. And also the personal relationships. In the old days, simple life, when there's village life everywhere, you have a circle of friends and intimates, of families staying together, that's a big thing. But you can walk in the village and find your intimate friends. Now, because we have the cars and the planes, you have friends scattered all over the world. You can relate to them on the internet, and maybe you go see them once. But it's a different thing. It's and we find now we have the lockdown, and people are isolated. Tremendous amount of anxiety, loneliness, because you're not meeting, to see people personally. Well, don't think that this pandemic isn't also a result of sinful activities. I mean, even the materialists, they say, because people are eating all these strange animals, and the diseases are coming from them, and that's causing it. So meat eating and cow slaughter is a huge source of greenhouse gases, and what to speak of all the karma and hara, So simple life, seeing Krishna there and living as simply as possible. That's actual Krishna consciousness. and these extremes of heat and cold and rain and that they were experiencing. This is all simply nature, just reactions to all the sins going on, extreme sinful activity. And who knows what's going to happen. I read recently an article, because somehow we're here in this little corner of Southern California. A lot of the stuff kind of goes by us. All those fires was north. We didn't really feel. Although we did have some years before you were here, fires, and it didn't burn here, but it became very sooty. Very hard to breathe. But the about San Onofre? San Onofre. So that was actually working for years while I was here, and then in the last 10 years or so they decommissioned it, So it means it's not really generating electricity. But all of those spent fuel rods are still there. The radioactive waste is up there. What to do with it? They thought, well, we can take it to New Mexico and we can bury it. And no, nobody wants it. No state wants it. It's up there. It's still there. All those fuel rods, they bury them in these 20-foot high steel canisters and things, 100 feet from the ocean. Hello? What about Fukushima? What about Chernobyl? Every so often these unexpected things happen. It'll make all of Southern California completely uninhabitable. We'll be, trying to get out of here by the millions. And it could happen. We're sitting on several faults here, San Andreas and so forth. Anyway, I don't want to freak anyone out. It's always been a danger, But this is the madness of materialism. We can control nature. Basically they're saying we're going to do our best to control nature and hope for the best. But eventually, disasters strike, as we're having one now for the last year. All right, text 20. Travidya mam somapa puta papa yagyarishtva swargatim pratayante te punyamasa di surendra lokam ashnanti divyanti videva bhogan. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. This is the verse I was thinking of. Purified of sin-free actions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. Purport. The word Trividya refers to the three Vedas, Sama, Yajur, and Rig. A Brahmana who has studied these three Vedas is called Trivedi. Anyone who is very much attached to knowledge derived from these three Vedas is respected in society. Unfortunately, there are many great scholars of the Vedas who do not know the ultimate purport of studying them. Therefore, Krishna herein declares himself to be the ultimate goal for the Trivedis. Actual Trivedis take shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and engage in pure devotional service to satisfy the Lord. Devotional service begins with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and side by side trying to understand Krishna in truth. Unfortunately, those who are simply official students of the Vedas become more interested in offering sacrifices to the different demigods like Indra and Chandra. By such endeavor, the worshippers of different demigods are certainly purified of the contamination of the lower qualities of nature and are thereby elevated to the higher planetary systems or heavenly planets known as Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, etc. Once situated on those higher planetary systems, one can satisfy his senses hundreds of thousands of times better than on this planet. So, we should always remember, text 15, chapter 15. Vedaischa sarva ahameva veja. That from all the Vedas, I am to be known. The goal of all the Vedas. And if you're studying the Vedas and it's not teaching you the more knowledge of Krishna, then you're being bewildered by the Vedas. All of this karma kanda, worshipping the gods, going to the heavenly planets, that's from the Vedas. But that's the Vedas that are used here to drink the Soma juice and to become purified of sin, and they're worshipping me, Mom, But their goal is swar, is heaven, worshipping Krishna for heavenly planets. And by becoming pious like that, they can actually go up there. And then the next verse describes, the first line, they enjoy godly delights. But the problem is that it's all material, and eventually your punya wears out and you come back down here. So you really haven't gone anywhere. So we don't want to worship Krishna indirectly. We want to worship Krishna directly. That's what this movement is all about. Because ultimately everyone is worshiping Krishna. You're worshiping Mammon, you're a total atheist. You're looking to the material energy for your shelter. You're worshiping in the sense of paying attention to and trying to bring in, and get something out of it. But that you're really being controlled. You're being, it's called asadupasanaya, worshiping the impermanent. And that atmahano, it's virtual spiritual suicide for the soul. So we don't want to worship Krishna indirectly. As they worship me, I reward them accordingly. So everything is Krishna. If you worship me indirectly through the material energy, you'll get result of material energy, which is birth, old age, disease, and death. We want to worship Krishna directly. So now at 6:21, we have just enough time. The result of such worship. Tetam bhukva swargalokam vishalam chine punye matyalokam vishanti evam tahi dhammanupapanna gatagatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Purport: one who is promoted to the higher planetary systems enjoys a longer duration of life and better facilities for sense enjoyment. Yet one is not allowed to stay there forever. One is again sent back to this earth upon finishing the resultant fruits of pious activities. He who has not attained perfection of the knowledge, as indicated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janma Jasya Yataha, or in other words, he who fails to understand Krishna, the cause of all causes, becomes baffled about achieving the ultimate goal of life and is thus subjected to the routine of being promoted to the higher planetary systems and then again coming down as if situated on a Ferris wheel which sometimes goes up and sometimes comes down. The purport is that instead of being elevated to the spiritual world, from which there is no longer any possibility of coming down, one simply revolves in the cycle of birth and death on higher and lower planetary systems. One should better take to the spiritual world to enjoy an eternal life full of bliss and knowledge, and never return to this miserable material existence. So you can see there's a certain argument here, and Krishna has just made his point. And in the next text, which we'll read tomorrow, he's going to explain, on the other hand, one who worships me undeviatingly, I carry what you need, and I preserve what you have. This yoga and kshema. Remember, I explained this once. Yoga, in this context, means the necessities of life, and kshema is your security. All important. Those two things, we can live peacefully in this world. So Krishna, I personally provide them. I personally carry them. So that's the resolution of all of this. Instead of wasting your time trying to improve your condition on this planet, or go to a higher planet materially, which is still fraught with birth and death, old age and disease. Just worship Krishna with undeviating mind, and everything will be provided. And most important of all, ticket out of here, back to Godhead, where you never have to come back again. So that's why this is the most confidential knowledge. So many people are so bewildered about what the Supreme is. What is sadhya and sadhana? I was just reading Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and he has this debate with the Kashmiri, Keshava Kashmiri, and he defeated him, a great scholar. But there was also it was Murari Gupta? No. Was the other one? Who did he send to Benares this day? Anyway, and one of his devotees, he was bewildered about the goal of life and the process to get it. This is what we should always wonder. What is the real goal of life? And knowing the goal, how could we achieve it? So Lord Chaitanya explained it to him. I think he was in Gaya. And he sent him to Varanasi this day. He wanted to stay with him in Puri. No, go to Varanasi. He knew he would go there eventually. So that's what and Krishna is describing again and again. Understand what the goal of life is, and then you can understand the way to achieve it. Otherwise, you get bewildered. You think the goal of life is going to heaven, and you focus on it, you work so hard, and if you get up there, I've made it. But you really haven't made it, any more than making it to La Jolla, living there, So it's what's really important in life and how to strive for it. That's what this is all about. Okay, time to adjourn. We'll resume tomorrow, same time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for nice class.
Hari Bol.